Shalom. Our Torah portion this week is Shalach Lecha. In the opening verses, we read that at the bequest of God, Moses chooses a representative from each of the 12 tribes to secretly enter the land of Canaan and to see what kind of country it was, whether it was fertile or not, whether the inhabitants were few or many, and to determine whether the inhabitants were militarily strong. Let's read from the Chumash the report that these spies brought back to Moses and the people. V'ha'anashim asher alu imo amru lo nuchal la'alot el ha'am ki chazak hu mimenu v'yetziu dibat ha'aretz asher taru ota el b'nei Yisrael lemor ha'aretz asher avarnu va latur ota eretz ochelet yoshveha hi v'chol ha'am asher ra'inu v'tocha anshe midot v'sham ra'inu et ha'nefalim b'nei anak min ha'nefalim v'nahi ve'enenu kechagavim v'chen hayinu be'enehem. But the emissaries who had gone up with him said, "We cannot attack that people, for it is stronger than we." Thus they spread calumnies among the Israelites about the land they had scouted out, saying, "The country that we traversed and scouted is one that devours its settlers. All the people that we saw in it are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there. The Anakim are," and Anakim incidentally means people of a very large stature. Anak means giants. The Anakim are part of the Nephilim, and we look like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them. Of the 12 spies, only Joshua and Caleb had the faith and the courage to say, "If pleased with us, the Eternal will bring us into that land, a land that flows with milk and honey, and give it to us. Only you must not rebel against the Eternal. Have no fear then of the people of the country, for they are our prey. The Eternal is with us." Now the people, believing the evil reports brought back by the cowardly spies, those other 10 spies, threatened Joshua and Caleb with stoning at this point. Now, because of their lack of faith in God, in themselves, and in their mission, that generation of Israelites was destined to wander for the next 40 years and die out in the wilderness of Sinai, never reaching the promised land. The challenges and rewards of conquering and possessing the land would be left to their children and their grandchildren who came after them. These questions come to my mind when reading Shalach Lecha. When do we know for sure that the right time has come to undertake a great challenge? When should a nation or an individual take on a daunting challenge, for example, waging war? And is faith enough to emerge victorious when we are beginning a daunting challenge? Now, for the most part, Judaism teaches us to pursue peace. However, there are times when we must fight. For example, when our lives are endangered, when our country is under attack, and according to the rabbis of old, we were duty bound to fight during the original conquest of the Holy Land. In the story of the 12 spies, we see that this same generation that experienced redemption from slavery in Egypt, the same generation that stood at Sinai and received the Ten Commandments lacked faith in God, lacked faith in themselves, and lacked faith in the righteousness of their mission. No great task can be undertaken without faith. But is faith enough? The short answer is no. Faith without careful consideration of the reality one is confronting, faith without strategy, without training and preparation, can lead one to reckless behavior. For example, in the years leading up to the destruction of the Second Temple in the year 70 CE, Jewish zealots, with blind faith in their cause, ignoring the overwhelming military might of the Roman Empire, ignoring the warnings of the rabbis of their days to proceed with caution, plunged our people into a disastrous war that would result in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people and the exile of the Jewish people from the land of Israel. Faith, indispensable as it is, detached from reality, can impair an individual or even a nation's judgment. Now, the Maccabees, on the other hand, stand out as an example of how to combine faith, timing, and careful consideration of reality in pursuit of a just cause. Although outnumbered by the better equipped Syrian Greeks, the Maccabees were splendid guerrilla fighters. They had the advantage of knowing every inch of the land in which they fought. They had faith in God, in themselves. They knew the time was right, and they knew that their cause was right, and they had superior tactics. Moses Maimonides, perhaps the greatest rabbi of all times, wrote about our people's defeat at the hand of the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago. Most of the scholars of his day concluded that somehow our defeat was the result of a lack of faith on the part of our people. Maimonides, as intellectual as he was, as brilliant and as he was, as spiritual as he was, put it in very earthy, down-to-earth terms. He said, the Romans won because they had better generals, not because our people lacked faith. He introduced an element of reality into the historical record. Faith and reason must go hand in hand, whether deciding, to put it in the words of King Solomon, whether deciding it's a time for peace or a time for war, whether it's a time to sit still and analyze the situation a little more carefully, or to embark on a daunting challenge. Well, I hope that you will read this week's Torah portion and come to your own conclusions. Shabbat Shalom.